All right. Good evening. Good evening. We are back. It is another Sunday. It is Sunday, April the 19th. And we are so excited to have you back with us again. We're excited to be back because, could have gone another way. It really could have. But we are so excited to be here. And we're just glad to have you. I am Dr. Marcia Cradle, and we also have. I'm just one third of this coaching team or of this podcast team. Then we also have Coach Lima and Pastor Weaver, and we are the podcast dream team. We're so glad you chose to spend part of your Sunday evening with us. Tonight's conversation, let me just tell you what our topic is for tonight. Our topic is the perfect storm. What happens when life hits all at once? So, this is a real conversation. It's a real one because life has a way of not just tapping you on the shoulder, but sometimes it hits you with everything all at once. And it's not just one challenge, it's the unexpected bill, the relationship strain, the health concern, the work pressure, the emotional pressure, the emotional weight, all of these things happening at the same time. And suddenly you find yourself asking, why is everything happening now? And that's what we're calling the perfect storm. Tonight we're leaning into what it feels like when life stacks pressure on top of pressure, when you're overwhelmed, stretched, and trying to hold it all together. Oh my goodness. I hope we're not frozen. Someone said we might be frozen. Am I frozen now? I hope
No,
not.
you're doing good now. You're doing good now.
All right. Good, 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 good. So we're going to talk about some things. We're going to it and how even in the middle of the storm, you don't lose yourself because storms don't come to destroy you sometimes, they come to reveal your strength. So go ahead, tag someone, share this live, get comfortable because tonight we're having another real conversation. And you should also be able to see this on YouTube Live. It says we're streaming on YouTube Live. I was just checking. So if your friends are not able to find us on Facebook Live, they can go to YouTube Live. So make sure you let them know that we are here.
So let's take a moment and allow folks to come on in the room. Um, Invite someone to join us. Send a real quick text to somebody. Uh, we, as the host, are doing the same thing. Remind them to show up in this space. We are live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube. When you go to YouTube, they're looking for, is it the CWJ or Lean In with CWJ?
Lean in with CWJ.
In with CWJ. Okay, Lean
Hmm.
In with CWJ. I want to join us there. And we're going to give a few minutes for that to
Yep.
happen. I'm asking if there is a male figure in your life, invite them in the room. I'm asking for daughters and mothers and wives to come on in the room. So again, take another minute or so, invite someone, tag someone, tell them come on in and join this important conversation that's going on. Again, we're live on Facebook, and we're also live on YouTube at
Hmm.
Lean In with CWJ.
Yes, 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 yes.
Take a
And I
few.
will drop that in the comments as well so that people will see that and they will be able to join us from more than one platform. We're excited about that.
On YouTube at Lean In with CWJ. So again, we wanted to invite as many people. I see folks are coming in the room. I see folks are jumping in the room. Again, invite others to come in. This is not a show tonight just about motivation. It's not a show just about women. It's a show about humanity. And so, come on, let's jump in. Invite someone else. Take another 10, 15 seconds. Invite someone else to come on in the room. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Um, come on in the room. Listen, I want to open up my part with this. I'm grateful to these two ladies we have here. I have here who share this space and life with me. I appreciate you guys. Um, I respect you guys. I honor you guys. I honor uh, the women in my life. I honor my wife and my daughters, my mothers, my aunts, and all of those. And I'm saying that because April hasn't just been a heavy month. April has been a devastating month. Emotional pressure, relationship conflict, access to weapons,
Mm,
silence in our community. It's like the perfect storm. I don't know how perfect it is. This is not just statistics. It's not just about statistics. This is about lives. It's about names. It's about families.
mm,
It's about futures being destroyed. Listen to this: murder suicide happens 11 times per week, according to the data.
mm,
800 to 1,000 victims annually in murder suicide.
mm,
Two-thirds of those are romantic partners. 92% of the time, the males are the perpetrators. 86% of the time, it involves gun. This is not
mm,
random.
mhm,
It's a pattern. It's predictable, but it's also preventable. So tonight, I don't want us to just talk about this. I really want us to lead into this. We don't just talk about this. There's some we have to honor. So I want to intentionally do this before I turn this over to um, either Dr. Cradle or I turn this over to Coach Liebman. Right? Uh, this month alone, Dr. Serena Fairfax, a mother, a respected dentist, a community servant, lost her life to the effects of domestic violence. Pastor Tammy McCullum, after 30 years of marriage and a life dedicated to ministry, lost her life. Nancy Matea Brown, a community leader, a public servant, a mother, lost her life. Ashley Robinson, known as Ashley Janae, an influencer, had her life cut short abroad. Qualisha, known as Saturday Barnes, pregnant and had her future stolen from her, lost her life. Devonte Curtis, a trans woman, found herself or himself victim of brutality. Barbara Deere, an educator, a legacy builder, lost her life. These were not just victims, they were pillars in the community. They were women whose lives were filled with purpose, and they were women who loved deeply. And the tragic part of this is that they lost their life at the hands of someone who claimed to love them.
mhm,
The danger is not always in the street.
mm,
Sometimes the danger is in our homes. Sit on the couch with us. The danger is not always in the street. Sometimes the danger is sharing the same bed with us. The danger is not always in the street. Sometimes the danger are those very individuals that we stand before some altar, some court, someone, and we took a vow. So here's what I want us to do tonight as I pass this. I want to challenge our cultural silence. Tonight, I want to challenge our cultural silence because what we have done in this culture, Coach Lima, we have normalized toxic relationships behavior. We have normalized protecting abusers through our silence. We have misused faith language and say, let's just pray about it without us even taking any kind of action. And so I want to say this loud and clear tonight. As a husband, as a father, as a man of faith, as a community leader, love should never cost you your life. Coach Lima?
This is heavy. Um, I think that there's several reasons why culture has become numb or desensitized to these types of tragedies, because you often hear people ask questions. Oh, they didn't see the signs. Um, they didn't see the flags. There's no way they didn't know that this person, could do this, or there had to have been some things that they saw. While in some cases, that may be the case where there were some flags, perhaps, or not. But I don't think that necessarily matters in terms of what happens to these victims. I think that because most of the victims are women, there is a plethora of reasons why, if the relationship is abusive, if there are red flags, I think there is oftentimes a fear associated with saying something for women. There's a fear of being re-victimized. There's a fear when they say something. Um, it's just as you're just putting all these names out here, Pastor, and saying all that, it's just so heavy, and my heart and my mind is just like, it's a lot. I don't want to speak to why it happens. I think there's a lot of reasons why it happens, but it seems that the victim more often than not gets blamed for these tragedies. And that is the part that I'll never understand. I'll never understand that, why that happens. So for the people that are victims that may be afraid to say something, that may be afraid to go tell somebody that there are some things that are happening in within a relationship that could cause them harm, I can see why people sit in silence and they're so overwhelmed and they're so burdened by whatever it is that they're dealing with. Um, I don't know.
And I want to say these names again, right? For intentional. We're very intentional tonight on this show. Um, Dr. Serena Fairfax, a mother, a dentist, a community servant. Pastor Tammy McCollum, married for 30 plus years, serving as a pastor in her community. Nancy Matea Brown, a community leader that was serving faithfully in her community, public servant. Ashley Robinson, an influencer. Qualisha Barnes, Devontae Curtis, a transgender woman. Barbara Deere, an educator, a legacy builder. And I want to speak their names again because from the male perspective, from the male perspective, as men, we have to confront this disease that has been ravaging our community. As men, we have to get. I'm speaking for the men. I'm not a woman. I can't speak for the women. I have two co-hosts who can do that eloquently, right? But as men, we have to get to the place where we can address our emotional immaturity. As men, we have to get to the place where we can address our desire for control and entitlement. As men, we have to get to the place, and we've talked about this on this show before, um, in a holistic perspective. I want to talk about it tonight just to men. We have to get to the place where we confront, and we address our unhealed trauma. Because strength, my brothers, does not equal protection. Strength, my brother, does not equal possession. Leadership requires accountability, not dominance. And if we as men don't discipline our emotion, oh gosh, if we as men do not discipline ourselves emotionally, we will force our communities to have to continue to bury Black women prematurely. We have to get to this place. And so we have to get to the place where we are calling out silence from the pulpit.
Mm.
We have to get to the place where we have to get to this place where we have to call out these gaps in lack of safe reporting spaces. We have to get to the place where we put the church and the community on Front Street. Can the church and the community be a safe place, not a silencing place? Can the church and the community become a resource hub, not just another prayer circle? So we have to normalize, we have to teach healthy relationships. We have to normalize mental health conversations. We have to create these exit pathways for women in danger. We have to partner with domestic violence organization because hear me fervently when I say this. I have the responsibility of leading a faith community. I have the responsibility of pastoring in a community, and I say this without apology. I say this unapologetically to my fellow pastors out there, my male pastors out there. I even go so far to say this to fellow community leaders out there. Faith without protection is negligence. Faith without protection is negligence. Our silence is still speaking very powerfully. This storm is it's real, and it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to provide a safe place where we encourage women trust your instincts, where we encourage women seek help early. For men, get the help you need before you hurt someone. Communities, we got to start speaking up. We have to start intervening. We have to start supporting our survivors. We don't just pray for protection, we become part of the protection. God never intended love to be lethal. If it's costing someone their life, it is not love, it's control. And today we have to choose to break this silence. We have to protect our sisters. We have to protect our daughters. We have to protect our grandmothers and mothers. We have to protect our wives and build what real love is supposed to look like. It's time to break the silence.
Ooh, like Coach Lima said, this is really heavy, and I've been jotting down, typing. So forgive me for if you heard me typing. I was trying to get all these things in, but a couple of things, and one that really stuck out for me was when you talked about unhealed trauma, and we on this show have talked before about how oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes men are not taught to deal with their emotions. And so then these emotional things build up and then they take it out on the person that's closest to them. Like you said earlier, the person who's in the house with them, the person who shares their bed, shares the couch with them. And so all of these things pour in, or they build up. And so I am a firm believer that we must start teaching our young boys, and at an early age, that it is okay to express their emotions. And because I think some of that is, like you said, it's the trauma of whatever has happened. They never dealt with it, and then they take it out on this person who is close to them.
And then we re-victimize the victims, right?
Yeah.
We begin, as Coach Lima was talking about, this blame game, almost. Victim blaming is not just insensitive, it is dangerous.
Mm.
We start to say crazy things like, well, why didn't she leave? Why didn't she know how he was? Why didn't she see the signs? Right? Or what did she do to make him that mad? You mean to tell me somebody had that much control over you that they can say by a word or action make you that mad? The question is why she stayed. The question is, why did he have to feel entitled to harm her? We don't interrogate the victim. We have to confront the violence.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just saying what you're saying is spot on. But the victim, most of the time, is the one that gets interrogated. And there's a couple things here that come to mind for me. One of the things that, as you and Dr. Cradle are talking, I'm thinking about the woman that is married to a man that is a pillar in the community. The woman, who is married to a beloved man who is, he holds these titles, and he's curated the perfect image. And she knows that if I say something, or she thinks if I say something, who's going to believe me? So I do understand how some women can get stuck in fear of, especially of who they're married to. But then I don't want it to also think it's just about people with titles, because they're just everyday people that, may not have this doctor, dentist, minister, all these titles, they're just everyday people that go through it as well. So it's not about the titles, or it's not even about socioeconomics. It's a human thing. It's a, man versus woman thing. But I was having a conversation with my brother yesterday about, we were talking about children and spanking children and just having this whole conversation. And I was just sharing with him, like I always do, like I'm just against that, just beating kids and all the things. But what I think happens too is when you're talking about raising children, especially raising boys, when you're talking about the root of something, if they're in a house where their punishment is strictly hitting, they're just getting spanked, or they're getting, it's this aggression all the time, but they're not allowed to be boys. They're not allowed to express what they're feeling or feel what they're feeling. So all of this stuff gets bottled up. And then what happens? We grow into these adults, and we're checking off the boxes and we're moving forward in life. But there's still this static and all this stuff within that comes out at some point. And Dr. Cradle, you talked about how the people closest to them are victims of this. And I think that the violence is normalized. Violence is normalized. Domestic violence, you think about some of the music, you think about the programming, you think about the video games, like everybody's becoming desensitized to these stories, and the people and the victims involved, they're getting dehumanized because of everything that we see, or how our minds are being programmed. And I'm saying ours very loosely because I'm not talking at anyone, but I think that violence has just become normalized. So these things, it's just like, okay, it happens all the time. So when it happens again, nobody's really moved by it. Nobody's really shaken up by it because it's happening way too often. Way too often.
Yes.
And we sweep
Um,
it under the rug. We make excuses for it, right? We say things like men can't talk about their feelings. Um,
mm,
but if the truth be told, men
yeah.
chooses. It's a choice that you make. Right? No, nobody's making it difficult uh, for you to talk about your feelings, but it goes back to that control thing. If I'm going to talk about my feelings, I want to control the room. I want to control the conversation. Right? And then the entities, the organizations that are in place that should be the ones that are welcoming. For instance, I'm going to keep harping on this tonight. The church has become extremely complicit in all of this. Let's just be honest.
Hmm.
Church has not always been a safe place for women in danger, even though, especially in the Black church, women are the ones who've carried the Black church for decades. But it has not always been a safe place for women in danger. And so what we have done, we have over spiritualized abuse. And we say to the women things like, just pray harder. God will fix him. Right? We have misused the submission theology in church, and we have taught endurance without safety,
Mhm.
Mm,
Mhm.
protecting image over people, keep abuse quiet to save the marriage or protect the ministry. God
mm,
never called anybody to submit to abuse.
yeah.
Submission is not survival. Submission is not survival. So we create, when we do this victim blaming thing, we
Hmm.
create a false sense of control. And we tell them, if you do everything right, that won't happen to you. Or we send that message to our young ladies. Right? It protects the comfort of the community. It's easier to question her than it is to confront him. And then it helps us to avoid this accountability, especially when the abuser is known, as you were saying, Coach Lima, when it's someone who's a pillar of the community, someone who's
Hmm.
well known in the community, they're respected, or they are seen to have power. So victim blaming is often just fear dressed up as judgment.
And the other thing, Pastor Weaver, most people know I'm an educator, and it doesn't just start when they leave, like high school. Sometimes it starts while they're still students, be it high school, college, whatever. But like nobody is addressing it, and so I think because it's not addressed, it the violence escalates and continues further and further. And I do want to say, I want to tell you guys a couple of the comments that we have been receiving. One, we had a follower who said the decision to stay in unhealthy relationships is a result of a myriad of reasons, taught behaviors, learned behaviors, shame, fear on multiple levels, being ostracized, which we've just talked about, being judged, and then normalized by society. Um, the follower also says it starts here. It starts here, having open and honest discussion about traumas in an attempt to heal and move forward and some type of normalcy. Then we had someone say it's hard for men to be heard when they need to be talking about their feelings. We've had someone say this is a timely conversation, and for our audience, we always, the three of us, talk about what we're going to talk about, and we knew this would be timely, and so thank you for tuning in. And then we also had someone say men have abused their privilege of position to misuse power and undermine women.
Now, I'm on a business travel right now, and as I was coming through the lobby from grabbing some dinner in preparation for the show, I ran into a wedding that was in the lobby, and I just folded myself in. And as I'm standing there watching these, all of the fanfare around this, right? These two people about to exchange these vows. I could not help but think about this show that we're going to have tonight and say, did anyone have the conversation with them? Did anyone force him to have the? Don't wait till the abuse show up, right?
Mm.
Because uh, when real accountability is supposed to look like, we have to start holding abusers accountable. We can no longer make excuses for anger. We can't make excuses for control or for violence. No, he didn't just snap, right? It's been building there for a while, and it may be hard for him to talk about his feelings. Hell, it's hard for us to do a lot of things, right? You just have to just do it. We have to begin believing and supporting our survivors or those that are in danger. First response should always be, I believe you. You don't deserve this. How can we help to get you to safety for now? Intervention needs to take place early. Stop having traumatic friends or friends in trauma who just tell you to stay there because of the aesthetics of it, because of what he drives and where you live and what he puts on the table. Friends, family, and church leaders, we have to stop ignoring the red flags. We have to stop minimizing these controlling behavior because silence does not protect relationship. It only protects the abusers.
Mm-hmm.
It only protects the abuser. And we're going to keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back tonight for me to the church. Right? We have to stop making it about a Sunday morning show. We have to start having counseling sessions, counsel couples together who we know are in active abusive situations. We know it's happening. We have to get to this place. To stop forcing reconciliation without any safeguards. We have to stop prioritizing marriage over life. You know, God hates divorce. He also hates for someone to murder someone.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to create some clear safety protocols. We have to start training leaders to recognize the signs. We have to start training partners and pairing them with domestic violence experts. All of us have the potential to snap at any moment. We have to offer some confidential pathways for help. So if someone comes to the church in danger, our first responsibility ought not to be, hear me past this because I'm real pissed. Hear me when I say this. When people come to the church and we know that they're in danger, our first responsibility is not to save the relationship. The first responsibility is to save the life.
Can you say that again? And there's a reason I'm saying it. Can you say that again, Pastor?
If and when someone comes to the church and we know they're in danger, whether spoken or unspoken, our first responsibility is not to save the relationship. You're not trying to protect the status quo. You're not trying to protect brother so and so because he's one of the biggest givers in the church or he has a leadership role. The responsibility is not to save the relationship. The responsibility is to save the life.
The reason I asked you to repeat that is because in my experience, I have found the faith-based places to be the most dangerous. And here's why I say that. Because I've seen women, I've been in circles, I've been in Bible studies, I've been in conferences, I've been in all the things where you have some women that are expressing and talking about some things that they may be going through. And what I've seen is people immediately go to scripture where God says that we need to forgive. I see people immediately saying, oh, God's not going to put more on you than you can bear. That's like the go-to. Where people, what they're saying oftentimes gets negated with scripture in an attempt to encourage, in an attempt to give them something to hold on to as they're trying to walk through whatever it is that they're dealing with. And I have seen that time and time and time again. And I've just found that to be, it's very disheartening. It's very disappointing, because when people go to, say, a church or somebody that they feel is spiritually safe, that they feel this person is safe, and they're trusting this person, when your response is always scripture, when your response is, oh, we have to forgive, when we do that to people, that makes people curl up and go back into their bubble and retreat, because what their understanding is like, wait, you're not hearing me, you're negating how I'm feeling, and we're just going to fluff it with scripture. And I find that all too often for people. And I think that is another reason why a lot of women in particular, or maybe even men, I can't speak for men, but I see this happen a lot, where people just retreat because it's like, my feelings, I'm not being heard.
Yeah.
You're listening to respond.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's another, people retreat, and it's like, okay, I can't trust what I'm going through. I can't trust you with what I'm feeling. So where do I go? Who do I go to?
And we've had these conversations on this show before, right? Don't assume just because you have a pastor when you're in trouble, that's the person you need to go to for counseling. Pastors are not trained counselors. Say that again, Weaver. I will. Pastors are not trained counselors. That was not a requirement in seminary, those courses. Those were electives. And so this harmful language that you're talking about, Coach, we have to shift the language, that when someone comes to us that is in danger, they're crying out for help, our first instinct is always to say, well, why didn't she leave? We need to shift that to a healing language, because that's a harmful language. Mm-hmm. The healing language ought to be asking, what made it unsafe for her to leave? Or we'll get to the place, the harmful language of, well, she stayed too long. No, the healing language is, she survived as long as she could.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had issues. Everybody knew they had issues. That's the harmful language. The healing language ought to be, there was abuse, and that's all that matters. Because language shapes culture, and culture determines sometimes whether someone lives or dies. Our sisters, our wives, our daughters, the women in our lives don't need interrogation. They need protection. Our daughters, our sisters, our wives, the women in our lives, they don't need judgment. They need healthy covering. They don't need silence. They need advocacy. And until we stop asking what she did wrong and start confronting what he is doing wrong, we will keep having these same funerals, the same tears, the same regrets. I am tired of witnessing or presiding over burials of our sisters at the hands of men. This is what makes a perfect storm: violence, silence, and the blame all colliding at once. But storms don't last forever when people decide to stand up and disrupt them. I'm drained.
Yeah.
I'm drained.
Yeah, this is heavy, and I just hope that something we've said will give not only the person who is being abused, but also a person who has the opportunity, like a faith leader, to help someone to change your approach. Change your approach and give them safe haven, because it's a lot. It's a lot.
And it takes a lot of, and it takes a lot of courage. I will say it takes a lot of courage for a woman in a domestic violence situation. It takes a lot of courage to talk about these things. It also takes a lot of courage for a person that is on the outside. It takes a lot of courage for them to step up and to help. It takes courage when you're dealing with these types of situations. But I'll just say this, if there's anybody, that knows of some kind of abuse, of something happening in a relationship that could ultimately, just lead to something tragic or not. But if it's happening, it's tragic. If you know and don't say anything, it's like you're an abuser too. You're an accomplice to what's happening when you hold on to the secret and you don't say anything because it's not going to go away. Well, like one of you mentioned how it gets swept under the carpet and then everybody walks around like they're not choking off the dust. But it takes courage to say something. And that's hard for some people. It's hard for a lot of people when you're in these types of situations and you're living in such a level of fear and don't know what's going to be next. If I say something, then what does my life look like after I say something? What happens next?
And it's draining too, to have to walk around with that, carrying that all the time.
Yeah. Causes a system overload, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
So I guess the question would be, how do we make women feel safe? And there are resources and things out there, and I know there are organizations like here. They have organization here for women where they take them in. They kind of go under the radar where they can't be found if they're in that kind of danger. But even just if you're the first point of contact, even if it's somebody within a family and somebody comes to you and you're like, how do we make people feel safe enough to come to us, to talk to us, and not just dismiss it as it happens all the time, or this is the norm, or is that first point of contact, that first person that people go to, that's critical. What their response is very critical as to if this person retreats or if this person has the courage to walk away, report it. It's tough.
Pastor Weaver, did you want to add anything else?
I just wanted to say, Dr. Serena Fairfax, Pastor Tammy McCollum, Nancy Matea Brown, Ashley Robinson, Felicia Barnes, Devante Curtis, Barbara Deere.
Wow. What a conversation tonight. And if you're in the middle of a storm, right now, we do want you to know that you are not alone. We are a safe place, and we hope that there is a safe place or person that you can connect with if you are in a situation like this. Um, and I just want to remind everyone, if this conversation resonates with you, please share it with someone so that they can understand that they have options and that there are safe places. Please don't keep this to yourself because someone out there needs to hear this tonight. And we just want you to know that even though the storm may be loud and rough, um, there is strength in numbers. We are here to support you. And Pastor Weaver, is there a national hotline or anything? I just thought about that.
I believe there is a national hotline. I believe there's also one local. Um, I think the national hotline to get help is 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-7233, I believe it is. And
So,
that's the
so
National Domestic Violence Hotline. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Um, I cannot get away from emphasizing how important this is. Again, Dr. Serena Fairfax was a mother of two children, a dentist serving in her community that was shot and killed by her husband, who wasn't just anybody. He was the former lieutenant governor of the state of Virginia. Pastor Tammy McCollum was shot and killed by her husband, Eddie McCollum. He stated that he fatally shot her during an argument inside their home there in North Carolina. Nancy Matea Brown was the vice mayor in Florida who was shot and killed by her husband. Influencer Ashley Robinson died in Zanzibar under mysterious circumstances. Um, she was traveling with her fiance. Crazy, crazy, right? Qualicious Barnes was a Detroit rapper who was shot in Atlanta in her Range Rover. She was 14 weeks pregnant. And it's reported she was shot by her boyfriend. Watch this, who did not want her to keep the baby as he feared it would end his marriage. Levante Curtis was this transgender woman from Chicago that was beaten to death in her apartment by her boyfriend. Barbara Deere was a licensed speech pathologist who worked almost 2 decades with Chicago Public Schools and was shot and killed by her son, who then turned the gun on himself. Let's rise up and protect the women in our lives and the women in our community. That's my full display. That's even my closing announcement, or whatever it is that we're going to do.
and that's thank you, Pastor Weaver. Please use that hotline if you need it. Find a safe space. Have an exit plan. Don't suffer in silence. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.